This is the Tapped In Podcast, the podcast for beverage distributors that want to empower their sales team to drive business results. Listen up and welcome back to another episode of the Tapped In Sales Podcast, your podcast for beer distributors by beer distributors. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Bud, here with Moneyball Ross and Data Mike. And, Ross got back. He's over his bout of food poisoning, potentially.
Yeah. I don't know what it was. It was not good.
We did pre-record an episode that will come out later where there was a little quiet Ross on there. You were suffering.
White as the ghost.
Just trying to hold it all in.
Both ends.
Oh, but you're back on the horse now, Ross. How you feeling, big guy?
I'm feeling good.
Good. Sounds like you were back out of the bar and back drinking on this. Was this St. Patrick's Day?
No. This was last night. We went to a burrito place that's down the street, and traditionally they've had pretty normal beers available. But this time, since we're all about innovation, hard-hitting news, and I think we're going to get into it, I got some innovation right here.
Innovation.
You guys ready for this innovation?
Drop it on us.
Look at this innovation. Now, if you're not feeling good, and this is a perfect way to juice the tank here.
Donna's Pickle beer,
the finest brine.
The finest brine. See that looks.
Now, I didn't have the guts to buy it. Maybe when I'm feeling better, I'll make a go at it, let you all know. But this is the first I've seen a pickle beer. Have you all seen this before?
I've had pickle beers, but they're always a goza, right? So a little sour action with some pickle flavoring, and they're outstanding. But what was the base of that? Is that a lager with pickle flavoring?
I don't think it's said. I think if you have to ask, you're asking too many questions.
So I'm a pickle. I love pickles, and I would probably get down on that.
Donna's pickle beer is a light lager brewed with real dill pickle brine.
Nice. Yeah, see, I'm the weirdo that drinks the pickle juice after all the pickles are gone.
Is it a craft producer, or is it like a part of a bigger?
Made by a pilot project in Chicago and Milwaukee is what the Google AI says.
Oh, and it made it all this way, all the way out to you, Ross?
Well, look at this too. Remember when we were down in that Go Live and we went to that one account that was doing well with Nicaraguan beer? They had this too, which I thought was really weird. Why are they selling Nicaraguan beer here in Bend? But maybe you never know what's going to work.
Nicaraguans hanging around, bro.
Pairs well with burritos and pickle beer.
It goes back to you never know what's going to move, So this Tona beer, is the other beer that I saw there that was kind of interesting.
Are they known for having like a big variety, or are they just like?
No, they had 4 beers. One's Nicaraguan, one's pickle beer. Then it was like Montucky and then like an IPA.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe we should make a road trip down to Nicaragua. What do you think, Ross?
I mean, this beer seems like it's a big deal. Let's do it.
Right? It's a nice warm country. Seems like it's about my vibe of warmth, at least. Right, the right climate for Bud.
It's the next Costa Rica.
That's right. Yep. It is just north of Costa Rica, south in the Central America. For those of us who have a geography degree or are looking at Google Maps at the same time. Well, some official topics. So did you buy either of them, Ross?
No. I'm not quite 100% yet. Let's put it that way. My stomach's not ready for pickle beer.
Were you getting burritos to go?
Yeah. Well, no, I think we ate them there.
You did eat them there? Oh,
it's been nice. I mean, anybody that's listening is in the Northwest, we've had no winter. It's 75, 80 degrees, and we're under a fire warning, which is early for us. I mean, usually that doesn't happen until July or August. So fun times.
Yeehaw.
I love that your system was still too sensitive for the pickle beer, but you just hit it with a burrito right away.
Fair enough.
I mean, you got to get back on the horse at some point, right, Mike?
Yeah. Yep.
Appreciate this. It was a Nashville. It was the spicy chicken too. I didn't do myself any favors.
No.
Yeah.
When you need one last clear out, Mike, you got to hit the Nashville hot.
Nashville hot on a burrito.
Burn it out.
This place is such a bro place. They do like a fettuccine burrito.
There you go. I love it. Well, let's dive into some news. So today's going to be some news topic articles, kind of that kind of podcast. So first one up, we've been waiting for this. This is, this has happened a couple times in a few different data sets, depending on when it happened and who you're talking to and yada, yada, yada. But Michelob Ultra, all channels in 2025, number one beer, Modelo, number two beer, both ahead of Bud Light now. So the big news story is that Bud Light is no longer number one. It's been passed by two beers. I mean, one would argue that this happened sometime in 2024. Just depends on, do you look at it as an annualized number or as a quarter by quarter or month by month? This is the first time that it's really looking at a whole year and year to date where it is bigger. So what's interesting about this is that we all knew this would happen post the Bud Light debacle of 2023. It has, or in today's world, the situation, right?
You got to show your situation room. You are in DC.
Well, we can talk about that too. But the situation of the Bud Light situation from 2023 really accelerated this on both sides, right? Accelerated Ultra to the upside, Bud Light down to the downside. But what's interesting about this is that if you look at the top five brands, which would be Ultra in order, Modelo, Bud Light, Coors Light, and Miller Lite, those are the top five. Four of them, Bud Light, Modelo, Coors Light, and Miller Lite, are all declining in total volume. Only Ultra is growing in total volume. So while there's jockeying around, Ultra is adding more space and gap between, and because they're gaining market share via gaining more volume as well. To me, the saddest thing is that the volume's going down. We talk about this all the time. That's not the game anymore. Profitability is the name of the game. But only if you take it a step further, of the top, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Of the top 12, only 2 of the top 12 brands are officially growing this year, Ultra and Busch Light. Comments, boys? What do you guys think about this?
I mean, it's a huge headline, right? I mean, Bud Light been the king forever, and we knew that it was slipping, and Modelo crept in there, and we knew that Ultra was gaining some momentum. But today's consumer, I mean, it's showing exactly what we've been talking about forever. They want something easy, low calorie, something that's going to fit in their lifestyle, something they don't really have to think about, right? And since day one, that's all Michelob Ultra's been about. We are the beer for the lifestyle. They never really got off that path. They never really veered too far from that. And we used to all the time complain. Bud Light would shift. I mean, they had a new tagline every year, right? I mean, they completely just shifted their marketing every year, but Ultra always stayed consistent. So I think it's speaking pretty clearly to what the consumer really wants, and it fits into their lifestyle.
Well, it's a perfect velocity times profit play, right?
Yeah.
It's a high profitable item that has velocity potential, and so it fits right into our wheelhouse, into how we think about things. But I think AB is smart in terms of leaning into it. I think AB traditionally has been more reluctant to let go of prior lead horses and give new lead horses their due. Instead of hedging they're hedging their bets still with those brands like Bud Light, Bud, but I've seen them be much more aggressive and much more quick to lean into what's working. And that's credit to AB. Credit where credit's due. And again, I think you look at Cutwater's success and how they've leaned into it. You look at Ultra, and also even Busch. I mean, I think historically speaking, Busch was basically a hedge against Coors, and it was never meant to be a lead, but it's become a lead, right? And you're leaning into AB's leaning into it, and so are the distributors that we work with. But I don't think there's any coincidence that VXP is so prolific across the AB network now, and these two brands are succeeding so strongly.
Well, look at the 4 brands that we're talking about too, right? I mean, they all have a cultural following. Ultra, healthy beer, right? Modelo, hey, I'm kind of cool. I'm drinking something a little bit different than everybody else. That was kind of, and then, and Busch, I mean, that's a culture all on its own. I know very well in Michigan, right? I mean, the culture of Busch Light screams outdoors and doing things like that. And once a brand loses its cultural momentum, it's really hard to just advertise its way back. And Bud Light had that culture for a really long time of being that cool beer, right? I mean, you just Coors Light and Bud Light, I feel like they went back and forth as far as like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm drinking Bud Light, or I'm cool, I'm drinking Coors Light. I think Modelo really slipped into that. Ultra's always been there with the lifestyle of being healthy, and Busch Light's really gaining it as being like the outdoors, cool beer now too. I don't know, but they all have that culture behind them.
I mean, I would say too, I mean, how much of this negative number is just a hangover, the fact that those brands benefited from AB's marketing mistake? I mean, are we far enough past it that we can write it off, or is that still part of it, do we think?
I feel
Well,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I mean, like, I feel just by living through what we'll call the incident of 2023, there was a lot of hate on the entire portfolio. It wasn't just Bud Light. So I feel like there was a lot of work to be done to get consumers back into the AB portfolio with Busch Light and with Ultra. So I don't think it was all natural.
this change of the lead horse is happening for the first time since 2001. That's when Bud Light took over Bud as the number one beer as well. So its reign is relatively short compared to Bud from a timeline standpoint, and it was cut shorter than what it probably should have been by a magnitude of probably 4 or 5 years, because of the situation or the incident and the kind of brand trajectory adjustment that got made after that. Also, another scary fact too, you're talking about Bud Light actually peaking out at total velocity at 41 million barrels in 2007 and 2008. And now, where will it finish the year? Who knows? But that's how big the brand was. And that's just a long way from the top of its tippy top in 2007 and 2008 to a slow decline. The other thing that, we as, brand managers and brand builders should remember on the distributor side, that like these brand cycles come and go. Like this happens constantly, and it's well documented across many, many, many other CPG categories and many, many other industries. This is not abnormal by any stretch of the imagination. So, these things happen, these things jockey around, but it's the evolution too. And another component of the evolution, to armchair expert some data in the back of my head real quick, is that for as much as Ultra grew in total barrels and dollars in 2024 and now again in 2025, I'm pretty sure Cutwater eclipsed total dollar growth just by sheer dollar for dollar, even though the volume is different. But, not every package is created equally. Not every package matters the same way to you as a brand manager, you as a distributor. And we want to be constantly reshuffling and rebalancing how that looks in our business and how we're focusing on this day in and day out as well too. Because Mikey, if you were running, the brand manager side on a distributor again, it's tough to look at these numbers and be like, how do I balance Busch Light growing and Michelob Ultra growing with Bud Light decline, with also the dilutionary matrix of GP per CE loss on focusing more on more Busch Light too. Like you got to be careful at that same token that we don't drive, like if your GP per CE is $1 or $2 less on Busch Light than Bud Light or Ultra Light, that you don't make that too much bigger a part of your portfolio, because then you could wind up and just spinning in place too from the economics of a beer distributor. You're growing volume, but you're spinning in space profitability wise. So that's like the hard balance that I would look at right now if I was an AB distributor running another business day in and day out, watching these two brands grow together.
Absolutely. I mean, it's fitting right into what a distributor wants with the Ultra growth, the decline of Bud Light, and shifting that into Ultra. But what you don't want to do is shift everybody into Busch Light. Well, you want to support Busch Light for its growth and its momentum and what it has for sure. And you can't get too emotionally hung up on the Bud Light loss too. I mean, there's a lot of emotions that go into that, and everybody wants it to continue its legacy, and they want to, but you have to let that emotion go and support what's coming in next, which is Ultra and followed by Busch Light, I'm sure.
We'll pick at this scab just one more second too. That Modelo too does all this velocity off of basically two packages, 12-pack cans and 12-pack bottles, and a little bit of draft. They don't have as prevalent of draft business as what AB business or Molson Coors business has. And they don't have as prevalent a big package business and the 24 packs and the 18 packs as what AB and Molson Coors does too. So them still driving this much business off of basically two packages is pretty impressive. I mean, maybe a 2.5, right? Draft is a part of the puzzle, but not a huge part of the puzzle. That's even a huge thing. I think you're going to see them push more placement programming for the next 4 or 5 years, looking at how they grab and squeeze more opportunities out of it. But maybe that's the wrong way to do it, and just ride the horse you got and crush it on the 12 packs along the way. And just, if I were them, I'd be trying to expand draft faster than anything else. Like, let the 12 packs do what 12 packs do. Don't be too worried about the suitcase game. And this is just Bud's outsider opinion. But you do need to pick up the baton and move on the draft game in a big way.
Yeah. I mean, the big guys, that's MC and AB. That's all I wouldn't say that's all they knew how to grow a brand, but man, their focus was growing a brand by SKUs. We had a 1-pack, a 3-pack, a 4-pack, a 6-pack, an 8-pack, a 9-pack. I mean, it was ridiculous at times of the amount of SKUs that were growing, which is essentially eating into its own space. You walk into a cooler and you see a full shelf or 2 full shelves of 12-pack bottles of Modelo. That screams a heck of a lot louder than 6 different SKUs in that same space. And if it's working, why fix it? Why change it?
How much of that was just to absorb the space and block entrance?
Oh,
and how much
100%,
of it was?
but still, it's eating away at your own space at the end of the day.
Well, that you're speaking as a distributor that has a diverse portfolio versus as a supplier's stance. Mm-hmm. And those are different perspectives.
Moving on to the next section here, we're 1 week removed from St. Patrick's Day, and I'm sure Ross was out partying on St. Patrick's Day like I was as well. Guinness, still hot as can be. Maybe at the end of the day, like maybe losing some buzz, but it doesn't look like it's losing any buzz on my radar at all. Guinness Zero keeps adding to the story. Imports are up across the board, right? But Guinness is the engine from Irish imports are up, but Guinness is the engine of all of this. So really the question here is like, how high can Guinness keep going? Is this something we started seeing this, Ross, in what, April or like Q1 of 2024? Like we were there at ground zero when really this started to turn and watch it to begin. And now we're in 2026, still watching it do its thing. Is there an end in sight to this? Do we see it slowing down by any way?
I mean, my personal take is I always wonder how long it would take the customer to realize what Guinness really is, right? Because if what Mike said is true about Ultra, then that's also true of Guinness, right? It's a low calorie, low alcohol, low carb beer, right?
And you look like a man drinking it with that big dark pint glass, right?
I mean, it looks dark and stouty.
Yeah, it's.
But in reality, it's one of the lighter beers, healthier beers to drink, in alcohol and carbs and all of it. So, I always wonder how long it would take the customer to realize that, or the consumer, because you're getting full texture from that nitrogenation, right? So full body flavor or fully body feel. And also kind of that niche where Ultra is flying towards, which is kind of where the market's heading anyway from a carb, health, alcohol consumption perspective. I always wondered why Guinness hasn't leaned into that, so to speak. I mean, they have their branding, they have their messaging, but I mean, they're fairly well positioned for where the market is now. And maybe the customer's figuring out on their own.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. I mean, there is some education that needs to go in behind Guinness because it's not very approachable. If you're not into dark beers, as some people say, I don't really like that, you wouldn't even try it. And once you do try it, you're usually pleasantly surprised. Like, ooh, this has a really good taste. It didn't hurt me. It didn't take my tongue off and wipe it on a bunch of hops. And the educational part about the locale and the low ABV. I don't know why they don't lean into that more. And the approachability, the clarity of Ultra, Coors Light, and Busch Light is 100. It's unmistakable. You know it's there, but the education around getting into a Guinness is a little bit different. And maybe St. Patrick's Day helps with that. I mean, we were out for St. Patrick's Day, Saturday, doing all the Irish dancing celebrations with my daughter, and I mean, Guinness was everywhere. Even all my friends that drink Ultra or Busch Light or Coors Light, everybody's having a Guinness. So, and that's a good entry. And maybe that sustainability comes from the sampling from St. Patrick's Day, which they still lean into. But I mean, they're showing momentum and sustainable growth, which is great. And then Guinness Zero coming in. I mean, that's a whole new occasion with a huge brand on it. Bud, I know that you love that fluid. It's a good beer. Mm-hmm. So bringing even more people into the occasion with Guinness Zero, I don't see the momentum slowing.
I mean, I think there's an opportunity for dark beers to reposition themselves. I mean, you think about like Schwartz beers. I mean, they're not necessarily an oatmeal stout or a Cascadian dark ale. I think you're right, Mike. I think people's perception when they see dark beer, they think heavy, maybe even super hoppy. Mm-hmm. But there's no difference in terms of the color. I mean, you're talking about just the roast or the maltness potentially. That you couldn't have like a dark Ultra, for example, which I guess Modelo Negro is basically that kind of, which is a great beer. To me, that's my go-to. I really love that beer. And I can only find it in bottles because I'm the only one that apparently drinks it in Bend.
For me, the Guinness game, Mike, is like they'd probably on the marketing team would love to take advantage of like the better for you attitude around it, but that's not authentic to the classic marketing of the brand. And in today's world, you have to stay focused on authenticity of the brand and where it came from. And it's really hard to pivot and shift away from that, where Ultra was always bred out of that. We're going to brew a beer for people on the Atkins diet way back when, and when Ultra came out in the early 2000s. So that better for you mentality is in the fabric of the brand. Guinness is a heritage. It's an Irish import. They've got all the legacy knowledge of what Guinness is and brewing and the history of that. And they need to stay focused around that, I think, and let this slow seed of understanding of its nutritional value and how it is only 125 calories for 12 ounces, not 300 like what people think it is or like what it looks like. And it's 10 carbs, not 40 carbs. It's put it in comparison.
How does that stack up against Ultra side by side?
To put it in comparison with Ultra, it's 95 calories for Ultra and 2.6 carbs. So it is heavier carbs, but only a few more calories. We're talking about 25, we're talking about 30 calorie differences. It's, 6 more carbs or, less than that, maybe a little bit less, maybe, 7 more carbs, but it's not that big of a difference at the end of the day. And even if you're on like a keto diet or a fairly core keto diet, you still usually allow yourself 40 to 80 carbs a day, even if you're like hardcore keto folk. So, a couple of Guinnesses are not going to take you outside of that range. Now, some hardcore keto folk might not drink beer at all anyways, but it's just it's low carb anyways, and to your boy's point. But I think they have to stay focused on what they're winning. Like they're winning the occasion being St. Patrick's Day, year after year after year. That is a built-in trial day, right? Like any brewery would kill to own a day, mm-hmm. right? And they own a whole holiday and a whole period of time. And they own it in a way that like you don't even have to adjust the product, right? You just have to make it available. Where like Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light, maybe even Ultra green beer, like you have to alter the product in some way to make it part of the occasion. And we saw in our operation, lots and lots of people have gotten out of that. I didn't see any green beer while I was out this week either, but that's just Bud going to some of the places that I went to too. So maybe I'm not in that green beer realm anymore. But I love the beer. I continue to drink it. We'll continue to have it. And, I like that people have discovered that it's what it is, because it is moving the needle and is growing for sure.
I saw some green beer this week, and it brought back the trauma of making green beer in the warehouse for all those years. And we were out with some friends, just went out for dinner and a couple of beers on St. Patrick's Day, and they had PBR was their green beer, for the night. So we all obviously got a couple of those. And then I switched, and my buddy that was next to me, he got another one, and it came, and the green dye was literally running down the side of the glass, and it had a green dye, not beer, dye puddle on the table, and his hands were all green. And I said, I should have said something. I saw her reach across the table to give it to him. And she came back, and I said, I bet you they're using a dropper. And sure as heck, they ran out of the green beer PBR because everybody's afraid to order too much because nobody's selling green beer today. If it is, it's 75 cents a pint, right? Nobody wants green beer anymore. So they were using it, and it was just everywhere, all over his hands. And reminded me of being in the warehouse when you get the bat fire, and then your face is all green. Your hands were green for like 3 days.
How'd you do that with a closed keg?
There's a whole process, Ross.
Yeah. We created I'm sure everybody, you got a little contraption. You put on the keg, depressurize it, let all the pressure out, and then you just pour green dye in the tube up to we measured amount, right? And then you inject it, and then you force it in there with CO2, shake it up real good, pour out the stem, and boom, there you go.
And when you mean shake it up real good, you flip the keg on its side and you roll it across the warehouse.
Yeah. So the most important process is depressurizing the keg, because you have to open the tavern head to get the green dye in, right? You have it closed, pour the green dye in the tube up to the line, then you open the tavern head to allow the dye in. Well, the newbies that we were trying to teach them how to make green beer, they would forget to depressurize the keg, the most important step. And they'd have a tube full of green dye, and they'd open it up, and the pressure would just shoot it straight up, and it's pure green dye.
There's a picture we have of us doing it somewhere in our phones. I mean, I know I've got it in my phone somewhere. It's an absolute mess, Ross, and it takes forever. And you got to get it, you got to pre-order planning and then do this whole work. And then you got to repressurize the keg too, because if you don't repressurize it the right way, then they'll never work out in the trade. And you don't get beer back out.
Just use the dropper. Just drop it.
You see, if I was running a bar, I'd order what I think I need for green beer if I was running a place where I thought my customers would like it. And like, if I run out, I run out. And if I'm over, I'm running 75 cents beers the next day. Like, who cares at the end of the day? If I'm out early or if I'm a little long, like, neither one is the end of the world. Last thing I do would throw a dropper at people though, because it doesn't, green beer already looks weird. And if you're doing the dropper, it makes it look even worse.
The consistency. I mean, you're getting one that's like lime green, and then you're getting one that's like death green. And not to mention, there's a line out the door at this place. So I mean, they're pouring beer as fast as they can. Who wants to slow down and use a dropper? But
well, and I can't imagine that drinking that green dye is good for you anyway. It can't be any worse than the ingredients in the Doritos, I gather. But at the end of the day,
or the pickle beer,
all natural, baby, straight from Chicago.
So get a little bit of added, evolution on the next topic related to this. Draft beer volume up by 4%. Revs down by 4%. And St. Patrick's Day weekend up big per beer board data. Michelob Ultra led share gains, and wine and spirits outperform. So same thing, right? Volume up, moving the needle, revenue down a little bit. This is the same thing where Lester Jones has been talking about this, that we've got more and more people drinking out of home, that they're willing to spend money out of home. Guinness had the expected holiday jump as well. Ultra follows on with the first story. You just kind of see all this stuff cascading down into the market as well. And then you've got packaged beer and RTD sales, which are a smaller portion of the overall business. They were down for the period. But you know what? Like, nobody's really outperformance of RTD cocktails. So RTD cocktails and hard seltzers were up, but nobody's going out to the bar to go drink a bunch of RTD seltzers or, cocktails really that often, right? you're still going, if you're going to a bar and you're not drinking a cocktail, I think you're at the wrong bar personally. I think Ross would contend with that as well too. But, you know, if you want some of the stuff that's out there and that's your spot, then you can do that too. Spirits grew by 5.5 revs. Wine volume grew revs and low double digits over the weekend. So like all of this is matching big holiday data, right? Or big, you know, kind of supporting intro information we've seen across the field. Anything you guys have noticed catching up with clients this week after the holiday?
I mean, I think it goes back to what we started the year saying. I think we identified on-premise as a potential spot. I mean, volumetrically, it's not huge, but it's been so depressed. And, you know, as the assets inflate, you know, people get a little wealthier, they may spend a little bit more money out. It's not going to change overall drinking trends, but I think this is something we identified. Now, the economy could definitely be turning now. I don't think any of us had on our bingo card World War III, so we'll see what that does.
We're just the aperitif.
By the time this podcast comes out, who knows? It could be over or it could be World War III. You never know. It's always a surprise waking up in the morning now. Never dull.
No, but on those numbers, did you say draft beer volume was up, but revenue was down?
That's what it says.
That's interesting. I mean, that could be a shift from a lot of the crafts that are declining into more mainstream beers, or I wonder if that has anything to do with getting a little too aggressive on premise with promos or discounting.
Pricing.
Yeah. Because that would be interesting.
Yeah, draft volume up 4% over the weekend. You know, if at the end of the day, if people are getting out, and I forgot who I was talking to about this, but there was a big kind of discussion at one of the events that I was at recently where, hey, what can we do to get more camaraderie around the on-premise world with beer? Like, and they liken it to sake. When you drink sake and the Japanese culture is like, it's very, very rude to pour your own sake. You know, it's culturally, I pour your sake for you. And should beer be thinking about trying to get into that kind of cultural game around pitchers, right? Pitchers were something that used to happen a lot. And the pitcher programs have really dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. And Mikey, you've been a part of watching this happen. Ross, I think you have too, over your period of being in the market, where like, how many bars can you go to that actually have a pitcher offering? Most of them don't. Most of it's just a pint program. B-Dubs has the 20 ounce, you know, Brutus glass or whatever they call it. And that's about it that's out there. You know, maybe a couple bars are running 19 Tuesdays like what Mike has talked about, or maybe doing some 24 ounce or 25 ounce cans in the weekend for football or something like that. But there's no cultural behavior around selling or buying or drinking pitchers with any regularity across the market now. I wonder if most of the DUI laws had to do with that, or just less camaraderie of going out and drinking with the boys or in groups, or if we got sick and tired of drinking warm beer.
Yeah, that's where my head went with like, oh man, I hate pitchers. And you're right. Until you just said that, like, started racking my brain of like the places I go to, you just don't see pitchers. I know one that has a couple hanging on the wall, but you never see anybody drinking them. But we did go, this was, oh gosh, this was back, I mean, a couple months ago, and we had a big group. We went downtown for something, and there's probably like 10 or 12 of us went to a nicer restaurant downtown, had some food, and their beer menu was super limited, right? Mostly high-end stuff, $6-8 for a beer. And then I noticed on the menu, they had old style, and it was like $2.50 a pint. And so I was like, oh, I haven't had old style in a long time. Let's just try one, right? And then she goes, well, would you like a pitcher? And I go, she goes, they're only $5. I go, for a pitcher? So and the whole entire table was like, yeah, we'll take another pitcher. And we all sat there drinking pitchers of old style at a higher end restaurant. That's my only pitcher that I can remember even being around. But it was warm.
See, to me, that's the game that pitchers can really play and lead is that value play, right? We're going to get 2 or 3 people around. It's the same thing that bottle of wine does, where if you're going to drink 3 or 4 glasses, it's more economical to buy a bottle versus, you know, a glass. For pitchers, it's even more economical, right? I mean, we're talking about maybe a $25 or $30 bottle of wine in most restaurants, even if they're cheap bottles of wine, 50, 60 if you're at a nice place. But a pitcher of beer, your most expensive pitcher of beer is going to be what, $15?
Yeah.
I mean, you're making money at $15 pitchers, even at Ultra and Modelo on a cost standpoint.
Yeah, and I think for us, it wasn't even the cost. It was just the fun of having a pitcher on the table of old style of all things too, right? And it's like, I don't think anybody is, like, oh yeah, let's not order a beer because it was $6, but more like, yeah, let's do some pitchers, and it was just kind of fun, nostalgic.
I mean, the problem is you count the number of ways the market's moved away from that. One is overconsumption in terms of total liquid, whether that be for health reasons or for the alcohol. The number of people that aren't drinking. So now you've got half your crew taken out because they're not drinking at all. Before it was everybody was drinking at the table. And now, just like the onset of like Starbucks, everybody's got their identity tied up in their alcohol choice. So getting everybody to agree now is a Herculean task because everybody's got their identity. I'm the, double IPA drinker. This guy's the wine drinker. This guy's the seltzer drinker. Like, everything's working against the idea of pitchers, because back then it was, we're just hanging out. It doesn't matter what we're drinking as long as we're drinking together. And it's, everything culturally has moved away from it.
Those are good points too, as part of it. If you want to solve the affordability crisis, though, pitchers are the game for a beer world.
Yeah.
100%.
But that's the thing. It's like people, if you're trying to save money, you don't go out.
Mm-hmm. And the pitchers,
it's a good point.
Pitchers are kind of fun too, because I don't know Ross fell into this trap, but when you get off the cycle, like if my beer is empty and your beer's still half full, well, I'm going to have another one because you still have a half a beer, right? The just one more. And then when you fall into the pitcher trap, you're like, well, I'll stay here and finish off this pitcher with the guys. And then somebody orders another one because it's inevitable. Somebody's going to order another one. Then you kind of get trapped there, and then you end up drinking more fluid, whether you want to or not. Maybe it is a good way to sell more fluid.
It's
Especially
definitely,
if they give you the free peanuts, it makes you thirstier.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good way to sell more fluid. It's just, is the market ready to come back to that, or are there shrewd operators out there that'll find a good way to market this as an on-premise, player and actually get people sitting around the campfire drinking pitchers again, or is it a bygone, from an era ago that it will never come back, right? And it doesn't make sense to.
Yeah, and I think
I saw a funny meme. It was like, what happened to alcohol consumption? And it was like a millennial being like, I'm too old and I have kids to drink more than one drink now. And then it was like the Z's coming up behind them. I don't drink at all because it's not healthy. And it's like, there's your answer.
Yeah.
The millennials have kids now. And we're too old and too tired to drink more than one.
Well, and two, everybody kind of drank the same beer years and years ago before the craft boom, right? It was, well, what do you guys drink? You guys all drink Miller Lite or Bud Light, and you just ordered pitchers for the table. Craft boom comes. Yeah. Oh wow, we have 6 or 7 different options now, and everybody's drinking a little something different. There's no consistency. You're not going to order a pitcher of IPA, and everybody's drinking something different. I feel like that probably had something to do with it too, contributed to it in some way or shape or form.
Last thing on the docket for today is going to be a regroup on the Reyes Beverage Group. So we've been talking about how RNDC, Republic National Distributing Company, has been having challenges and exited the California market. We knew this would create a domino effect. Bingo card on our world wasn't that Reyes would buy a better part of their whole business, or half of their business, but earlier podcast, Reyes announced that they were going to purchase 7 locations of RNDC. Now, the new news in March, they added 5 new locations, being Texas, Arizona, Colorado, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. And then Illinois was dropped from the original list. So that represents a total revised deal, 11 markets, roughly $6 billion annual revenue. That accounts for about half of RNDC's total sales and includes RNDC's home market being Texas as well. The idea behind this is that both companies are aiming to finalize the transaction by May of 2026. So in the next, at time of taping here, sometime in the next 60-ish days. The final list includes Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Hawaii, Louisiana, Maryland, Oakland, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Reyes will run these locations as separate businesses from their beer companies, where they have their beer companies as well. And this all comes on the back of, it's kind of like closing the chapter on the tumultuous, couple years that RNDC has. What do you guys think about this? Reyes picking up the better part of 11 of them now, being a huge player in the wine and spirits world now.
I'll go first. This is more than just a deal story. It's a structure of the industry, right? And what was a 7 market rumor quickly turned into an 11 market transaction, $6 billion. That's a real power shift. And what's really crazy is that they're willing to give up their home market of Texas. And that tells you how serious the pressure is. It's that caught me by a big surprise. But I think Reyes is betting big on, discipline, route to market, control, like those are the things that Reyes has, right? And I think they're betting big on that and jumping in. And the old idea of the distributor is dead, right? And suppliers are really paying attention to focus, investment, execution, all the things that really matter to a supplier. So, this was a big one. Ross, what's your take?
It's more power in the middle tier. It's probably, Reyes is a good, efficient operator. And they understand the power that they have in their position in the market, and they exercise it. So I think it shows that the distribution tier does have power. I think we need to be careful about too much consolidation, because I think, as a supplier, you need to be wary of too much concentration. That's my thinking around it. Other than that, good for Reyes. They continue to be an efficient operator with a lot of synergistic value, and I don't think they're done consolidating, and I don't think we're done seeing consolidation in the industry.
What do you think happens with the remaining states that are left in RNDC's footprint, or the other half of the business?
I don't know. What do you think?
There's always been two schools of thoughts. Like, are they worth anything? Because most of these locations don't have franchise protection, and they definitely are worth something. Case in point, Reyes doing this deal. What are they worth is something less than probably what a beer distributor trades at with full-fledged franchise protection, and kind of how the most beer contracts work across the country. Or do you pick apart whatever's left? Half of this business is left. Is it in the core area where RNDC still feels good? They're going to still market and run these things, or is they just not fit Reyes's model? Do other Molson Coors big operators in the Northeast pick them up? Or do other markets just kind of like, hey, we're going to lock in and we're going to come from behind and we're going to go from here? I don't know. Or does Southern Glaciers pick them up, or does Breakthrough pick them up? I don't know. We've never been through this much of a transformation, and I haven't spent any time looking at where else RNDC is doing business in and what else they could do with those markets. I just don't know enough about it.
Well, I guess we'll see soon enough.
For sure.
we might see some brands move around too. So it might be beneficial to some of the smaller independent distributors.
See if I can find out real quick where else they're looking at. I'm working it. We get a little map going. Yeah, we do got a little map going. They got big penetration in the Northeast. Much of the country that they're talking about in the Northeast is just Maryland, Virginia, and DC. I don't know if I call Virginia the Northeast, but it really is. So you still got really Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. That's all up in the Northeast. It's still going to be there. South Carolina is still going to be theirs as well. Nope, South Carolina is going to get picked up. So you're still going to have North Carolina, Georgia, Atlanta. It's going to be interesting to see, because there are other operators in these other states where they are doing business in. that might be better fits or could be better fits to kind of piece them out little by little. That's probably the most likely thing to happen in the next, it might not be fast, right? It might just be, hey, get through this deal, settle the ships.
Well, the Reyes deal sets the valuation.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So get through this deal, close it out, and maybe we'll see some more stuff executed between now and O&D. It's going to be hard to. You wouldn't see if you don't get anything announced before O&D. You probably see a bunch of stuff close early 2027.
Then I feel like if I worked at one of these other places that hasn't been announced, I'd be wary of any pizza party that shows up on the calendar.
How did we miss this in the predictions?
I don't think we even talked about it. Well, I think it was already happening, right? With California, it already happened, right?
And it was still kind of a rumor, but we didn't. It wasn't released of how big it was going to be, how many markets.
True. We never settled out how RNDC would change. We had always just said that it would be that this would be something that would be a domino effect, and we never really revisited how the domino effect might play out long term on the prediction side. It was our first real prediction episode. We get better at these as we go. We get more efficient at them, Mikey.
They're still doing business in Michigan, right?
Yeah, and Michigan's weird because they're like a broker in Michigan because they're like Michigan's got that, ADA license where you're a distributor of record, but you're like a distribution partner of the state because the state owns the distribution rights. So you get paid a logistical delivery fee is basically what it is it's the most effective and fair way to describe it. You get paid to deliver the product and a fee to do that per case. So they kind of operate in the Michigan market as a broker consultant where they're out in the field with sales reps, but they don't have a warehouse. They don't own and run and operate the warehouse the same way they do in other states like, Texas or Florida, where they have physical locations that they're operating in. So a little different animal.
You said DC too. DC's got some weird liquor laws too. Isn't it all state run?
Yeah, Washington, D.C. I mean, Washington, D.C. is kind of the wild, wild west in a little bit. It's not, being a whatever it is. It's not necessarily a true full-blown state, so they kind of do a lot of what they want to do. And then you've also you're packed into from D.C. you can drive to 3 different states within a matter of 15 or 20 minutes and bounce around. So there's some of that goes on as well. Like not everybody who lives in D.C. works in D.C. or vice versa. Who works in D.C. lives in D.C. either. But they do have the beer that for them, I think that DC market at the end of the day is like, how can we, although they're going to talk about now running them as separate businesses, the evolution of this is like, how can we logistically merge the operational side of the business together from warehouse and from delivery? Short term sales will be a longer term play, but shorter term delivery and warehousing, because that's where you're going to get a bunch of synergies out of this. And DC is probably an easy synergy grab and like a nice, easy play. Say, hey, these are ways we can get synergies out of this market really, really quickly with how dense it is, and how easy it is to manage. Well, good stuff, boys. Another good episode. If you like what we're doing, continue to listen, like, and subscribe, share with a friend. If you have comments, things you want to share with us, we got some good guests lined up to come on a podcast in the near future. You can hit us up at info@vxptech.com with any questions or listener comments that you want to share our way. That's info@vxptech.com. We'll be back again next week with another episode of the Tapped In Sales Podcast. Boys, you guys rock. Love you guys. Ross, I'm glad you're feeling better. And Mikey, I'm glad you survived St. Patrick's Day, my man. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.